Welcome to Witty Storytellers. I would like to present you our estimated president, distinguished Toastmaster Brian Dodd.
Thank you, Julie. And thank you to all our other members spread around different places. Some are high up in the air. Did you warm up, Michelle, by the way? You were freezing the last time I heard you talking.
Yes, that is why we have the vest.
And Mayor, if you didn't know, she's at the International Convention in Denver. So we have 3 speeches tonight, and sometimes smaller is better. And let's hope we have that tonight. So our first speaker is going to be Julie, and Julie is giving a speech from the IP pathway, which I'm doing too. Level 1, project feedback and evaluation, and this is her first speech, so she gets to be able to do it again shortly after. And your title is Many Paths Lead to. Wow. Tell us where our paths will lead us. Julie.
There are many roads in our lives, in many places. And the roads lead to smaller paths and smaller paths. I would like to tell you the story which happened to me just a few days ago. Already Eastern Europe is out of where we think to go or to be, but there is where I was born. So in our family, as many of us and our ancestors were born in Transylvania, we decided to go there in middle of August. We did not know there will be a festival. And doesn't matter, we were about 30 members of the same family tree. But most important, I went there with my 2 children, one who came from Switzerland, Zurich, and the other came from Washington, D.C., America, and with my 2 grandchildren who came with me from London. And of course, also, 2 of their spouses, or whatever you name these days. My granddaughter came with his boyfriend, very, very serious boyfriend, because after that, yesterday, he went to his parents together. So they presented each other to their presents. And what a wonderful to see nice young couple. It is not enough to have gone to Cluj. Kolozsvár is my city of birth, and it has about 400,000 people and grew bigger and bigger and bigger. My son decided they went to go to see the countryside. So we went 25 kilometers out of the city to a small village. Small village was already very interesting. These wonderful old entrances and not too bad houses. all what I wanted to see, the museum of art museum was closed because of holiday. But my son had an idea. Let's go to the end of the village, farthest possible from the main road. And he followed the path who led to another path which had no more asphalt, has only small pebbles on the road. So I was advised, Mom, don't tell anything. Don't complain. Because of course we bumped up and down with the car. And we went farther and farther. And it was a path for one vehicle. Bam! A tractor came after the corner. So we went back on that bumpy road until we found a side road where we could sit and wait, and that road was only dirt road, no more pebbles even. And waited and looked and waved, and people waved back. And then we went again to the pebble road until finally they found one tree. And my son wanted to smoke. He still smokes unhappily, and went to that under the tree, sit down. For me, it was too far away, too bumpy, so I sit down in the car. But the children went running up the tree, the road. We are in the nature, and we're very happy. So at the end of the roads, where no one went almost, we found a very happy time together and came back, each of us happy for what we did. I for looking at the grandchildren and the children happy with each other and taking photos, and them for being in the nature. Nature is important, and it is no path which leads to nowhere. There is also some other place you can go and enjoy. So don't stay always on the road and the path you were given. Try to go outside, farther away. Mr. Toastmaster.
I love those different paths. We have a restaurant here that one of my clubs goes to for their executive meetings called the Crooked Goose, which should have a story behind that. But crooked paths also take you on many, many adventures. I do have Frederico's information.
Federico is here also, no?
Yeah. Do you want to give your speech now, Federico?
I can give it, although the path is that optional path of the mentorship. This is not about exactly the typical path, as far as I remember.
Because it's the mentoring. Yeah, okay. I've
Yes.
got that information in front of me. So Federico is giving us, his title is mentoring rewarding? It's from the Pathways Mentoring Program. Option number 2, Advanced Mentoring, 5 to 7 minutes. Presenting a speech about what was gained from the experience in the role as a mentor. Take it away, Federico.
How would you feel when a tall man that is maybe 40 centimeters taller than you just approached you one night and told you that if you can be his mentor? That was my experience 3 years ago. I didn't have a mentee in those days. I was just finishing my first workshop in Toastmasters that was about what it's called the Marshmallow Challenge. I don't know if you have heard about it, but this is like a team building workshop. Since in Toastmasters, I'm constantly building new workshops. I didn't know this person when he approached me, and I was somehow confused since no one asked me that in the past, despite I was a Toastmaster for almost 2 years. In the beginning, I just accept, and I didn't know in which bag I have entered in that moment. I could say that the next months were extremely challenging because I needed to explain him everything connected to Toastmasters. I needed to go deeper into try to adapt to the way of working, because this man was not the typical person who just came to Toastmasters and want to, how to say it, who is only want to perform speeches and try to be there. He wanted to go deeper, longer. Even we needed to build a path because he wanted to achieve a triple crown. So imagine it was like a work of more than a year that we needed to analyze each and every single action that he was working. But if something I got from all those crazy experiments is that I got a friend. Because in most of the cases, after the 3 speeches, it's a person that you just stop meeting or that you just release of this person and you don't have more support. It has been 3 years, and this is the person that I still have contact. And still until this day, he still considers me as his mentor, not as someone else. But as he always said, what we built, it was friendship. The second person that asked me to be his mentor, it was, let's say, exactly the opposite story. Because from one that was extremely tall, the other one was extremely short. It was like a year ago when a lady from Romania approached me, and after the meeting, she asked me the same question, but she was, let's say, a different story too. Why? Because she's an extrovert. She's that person that the entire city where I live knows her. As I'm constantly telling her, I wouldn't be surprised if she becomes the first mayor of the city without speaking even the local language, and I wouldn't be surprised up to that point. So this lady started a different transition since I transit from a person who was mostly, let's say, a kind of politician to a person who wants to even be more talkative. So imagine how to mentor someone who wants to be more talkative than she is already. She doesn't have that fear. I needed to adapt to the second challenge and understand those needs that she wanted to face. I needed to adapt and see, okay, what kind of stories you can tell that can be longer than the ones that you're doing. And I said, why don't you try to create stories about your country? Because when people think in Romania, they only think in Dracula. But you're not from Transylvania. You are from Bucharest. Why don't you tell us stories about there? Man, but the things are boring in Bucharest. Everything is horrible there. And I said, I'm totally sure that there is something that is not like that. And she started to bring stories about the bridges. I didn't know that in Bucharest or near Romania, there were so many bridges. She started to tell us, and the bridges are like this, and they look like this. And she started to teach us a lot of pictures about Romania. I was totally surprised how she was able to transform that ideas that Romania was the Dracula's place into right now the bridges location. sometimes now she feels sometimes annoyed to speak too much about Romania, but she was able to show us that it's not what the people thought. And the last story happened just, let's say, 3 or 4 months ago, when the last person approached me to be my mentee. There was a third mentee that I have, and this is a totally different story, because I will say that he is not exactly similar to me, but he's in a similar connection in IT. The strange thing in this story is that he approached me because I am a programmer and he's a programmer, but he told me that he wanted to be more open to speak to people. I was somehow confused about that because he is. But the funny part of the story is that in the beginning, he wanted to be my mentee, not because of that reason, but because he wanted to speak with someone about the programming stuff, something that he cannot speak with most of people, as I don't do. And the journey became, I tried to persuade him to become more, to use his ideas, because he has some ideas that he can present for the European funds. And he wanted more to work with me more than making his own money. The surprise was that a month later, he was trying to invest in Wall Street and in those places after talking to me. It was a very nice surprise to discover that each of these people taught me something and I learned something from them. But as my friend said, what I get from all of them is that I found new friendships.
Thank you, Frederico. It's always interesting to hear when we're a mentee or a mentor and how we react. I had the opportunity of giving some advice to some young person on one of the magazine things that I read different stories every day, and about, that when I started, I had a mentor that helped me get started in, and I said that's probably the best first thing you need to do before you get started is find yourself a mentor, because it's so valuable to you in helping you get through. And when you're mentoring somebody else, you're also what we're calling paying back. We're all paying back things that we learned from other people to new people like yourself. Our next speaker is Michelle, and I guess I'll have to fire up my timing device.
I'm fine.
Oh,
You can time if you wish, but I'm fine. I'm set.
Oh, okay.
I time anyway, regardless.
It's a good backup. So Michelle is giving an icebreaker from the team collaboration path. Her title is Together Everyone Achieves More. Together Everyone Achieves More. Michelle.
Thank you, Brian. And thank you, everyone. And thank you to those who are not here, but who helped me to realize how true this is for me. Maybe somehow I should change my middle name to Team, which means together everyone achieves more. That's an acronym, because that's really how I do things. Even my selection for this particular path was done as a team effort. Those of you who are active on the Pathways discussion forum might have seen me posting that I am going to buy myself my 7th path as my birthday gift. And I posted this, I think sometime middle of May, and I asked for suggestions on which path would probably work best for me. So even with selecting a path, I wanted it as a team effort. The Pathways Discussion Forum is another example of how my mind works. I come up with an idea, but it doesn't come to fruition alone. And somebody long ago, or about a year ago, accused me of using other people's ideas or using other people, making other people work for me so that I would achieve my goals. And that person, thankfully, is no longer in the Pathways discussion forum. He's also no longer on my Facebook page. He has been deleted. We are no longer together. However, that concept, I agreed with him in a sense. Yes, I I gain more. Think that other people who want to co-create and collaborate and cooperate with me to achieve something, we all make the whatever it is, whether it's the Pathways Forum, whether it's a party at home, whether it is something over here in at the convention, anything in my life, I always approach it as I think Stephen Covey calls it the abundance mentality, or some people call it make the pie larger. That's how I think. I'm trying to remember an example, a recent example where somebody said, "Oh, I can't, I'm not available during that time because I'm doing something else." And Brian, you might even be one of those people who said, "I'm doing something else, and so I can't be around at the time." And then my next response was, "Well, why don't we combine forces? Why don't we do it together?" Because again, that's how my brain works. It's a constant refrain. Team, team, team. Together, everyone achieves more. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but sometimes it becomes the guiding force for me. It sometimes even becomes my survival mechanism. When things are really difficult, instead of just thinking in terms of, well, this is really bad. In fact, I want to borrow from a TV program, one of my favorite TV programs, Orange is the New Black, where the the person was saying things are really bad. There's nothing, there's no one I can trust. Nothing is worth living for anymore. And her friend said, "Well, if everything is so bad, if nothing is worth living for, then you have nothing to lose. So why don't you reach out to other people? Since you have nothing to lose, since you don't trust anyone, then there's nothing to lose. There's no risk. So together you might achieve." She didn't say it in those exact words. I'm paraphrasing because that's how my mind works. But that is just so me. And I resonated with our keynote speaker over here at the convention. He he creates art in a different way. He creates art as a collaboration. In fact, I think yesterday or the other day, he had the trios draw little caricatures or draw whatever images they wanted to draw on little tiny pieces of paper. And then he spent hours putting these different pieces of paper together, and he created a collage of these little drawings. And it came out to become, suddenly my brain is blocking out, the first black president of South Africa. Help, somebody fill me in.
Nelson
Brian,
Mandela. Nelson Mandela.
yes, Nelson Mandela. There, see, you just helped me achieve that section. So he created this beautiful picture, and he had several other examples, and I was just sitting there awestruck. And I was thinking, he does it a lot better, but in the same way, I do it in different ways, working with people, just building groups. The Pathways Forum is an example. Somebody just came up to me, several people actually came up to me, but one said, "Do you realize what you've created? The group is now close to 10,000 members." That's a perfect example of together everyone achieves more. We are learning more. We are feeling more supported, and we're also supporting more. And the most important thing is we are having more fun, and we are having more friendships, and we're feeling more fulfilled. So again, that's me. If I could have it as my middle name, I would change my middle name and have it as the letter T for team. Together, everyone achieves more. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
And thank you. And we'll have to wait till the timer gives the timer's report. Okay, wait, see it? Okay.
Did you want the timer's report right now for all the three? I'll type it in the chat
Okay.
because
Now,
we still have table topics.
I'm going to get, my speech is going to be very brief because all I want to do basically is get a recording of something.
Well, sorry, Mr. Toastmaster. Federico showed up, so we had 3 speeches. Do you want a 4th one? Because we might be running short on time. But
No,
hey, you're the Toastmaster. You're the boss.
Considering I'll be less than 3 minutes.
Okay. So what do you want me to do? 2 green on 2, yellow on 2.5, and red on. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All set.
So to introduce myself, what I'm trying to achieve here, or what the speaker is trying to achieve here, is to give somebody an idea how they can be the Zoom master to a hybrid or blended meeting. First of all, you come in and you get your equipment set up. You have to have a computer, you need a TV or a projector, and you need speakers and a mic. When you've got all that together, the key thing then is to sign into the internet in order to activate the Zoom. Now I will share the screen. Why can't I find my share the screen? This problem the other day. Doesn't the share the screen come up on the bottom, or does it come up on the top?
We're not seeing anything, but the little button is down below. If you're clicking it, we're not seeing anything yet.
Oh, okay. So the first thing you want to do you go to the zoom.us. This brings up the screen here. Proceed to the sign in and make sure that you have the password for the people that you're, the meeting that you're doing. I'm choosing Railroad's Victoria clubs. This is a couple of clubs that are sharing this particular Zoom. And then the key here is for you to start. Now, I can't do that at this point in time, but you click on Start the Meeting, and then you will proceed to the screen that we're looking at now. And that's how easy it is to get started. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I had too much stuff on the screen when I recorded the one the other day, so that was one of the things. Everybody said, don't have so much stuff on there. I had other stuff, like, you know, how we do with Windows. Now comes the part that we grow on. This is that, you know, you've got the water and everything else. This is a nutrient that we have for growing as Toastmasters and as people. And ensure that every one of us in here have benefited from being Toastmasters in order to improve our personal and professional lives. Our first evaluator will be...
Point of order, Mr. Toastmaster, aren't we doing table topics?
Okay, but we'll do one table topic. We've all had, we'll do one table topic based on the theme, which is give it your best shot. And I'm inviting,
But Mary Jones, I think, is our table topics master. I don't know. I don't know if you've changed things.
Sorry. Oh, go ahead, Mary. You ask maybe two. We'll let you do two.
Okay, well, it's great because everyone's had a talking opportunity already apart from me, so this is my moment. I thought about the theme, give it your best shot, and I'm a kind of person who loves to know where sayings come from. And I'm a nurse by trade, and I frequently give vaccinations, hundreds of vaccinations. And when we give vaccinations, it's called giving a shot. And I always find that I give my best shot to people I like or people who are very nice to me. But I'm willing to debate that this is a medical term. So, Julie, what do you think is the origin of the expression, give it your best shot?
I am from Romania, not Dracula country, but I was there ill, very ill, all night long. And in the morning, when I needed a doctor, they told me everyone went on vacation because it is a public holiday. So they told me, call the ambulance. And they came together. And they gave me put a lot of things on my arms to see if I have not a heart attack or something. And then finally they listened to me that my stomach ache. And the doctoress or paramedic she was, I don't know, give me a shot. I will not tell you where. But I can tell you there were a lot of men around there. And finally I thought, okay, doesn't matter. And she gave me a shot and I hoped it will be miracle shot. And everything, every age will disappear. But it took many hours. And finally I was well. And something was missing. I didn't age anymore.
Thank you, Julie. I think we all need one of those shots. Frederico. Sorry? One more? Frederico, I'm looking at you. I frequently fantasize and I have dreams. I have delusions of grandeur. And in my fantasies, I see my book being published and it's made into a Hollywood film and it becomes an absolute hit. What's your greatest fantasy?
Well, let's say that my greatest fantasy was to go to UK and get a PhD in Cambridge. I know that it doesn't sound like something, let's say, odd or something very uncommon, but this is why I came to Europe. I invested 8 years working hard to come to Europe to try to get a PhD in Cambridge. However, fantasies many times come and changes in different shapes. That's what happened with the Brexit referendum. Since after that, my fantasy and my dream to go to Cambridge went to a garbage bin. Why? Because personally, I was more I'm more thankful to the European Union than I am thankful to the UK. So I needed to readapt, and it took me like 3 years to figure it out where I wanted to go next. Since for me, more than the fantasy of going to Cambridge and graduate from one of the top 10 universities in the world, it was more about to try to do something that could change people's lives. And it was very hard to identify a country where I could go, since I didn't want to pursue my PhD in Poland. And nowadays I'm trying to go to the Netherlands, which seems a place where I could go to the business perspective of people, since they are very business oriented. And on the other side, there are more research where I could do something else. But sometimes fantasies can change. And if you want to know how to write a book, I have a friend who is one of the best sellers in the United States, and she could help you to start your own journey, since her book is one of the best ones.
And thank you, Mary, for conducting that brief table of topics. But I'm glad Michelle reminded us, because I always say table of topics is the heart of a Toastmaster meeting. And without it, we don't have any heart.
Yeah, and
as
the timer, I'm wondering what's the rush, since we're only at 47 to the hour. But hey,
what are we? A 90-minute?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. It seemed like you were rushing because you were thinking it is a 1-hour meeting.
For some reason, I thought we were only on an hour. Mary, since we have more speakers that could answer your questions, I'm sure you can dip into your little bag there and come up with some more questions.
Okay, well, Michelle, I'm looking at you now. When it comes to tying up hair, when it comes to tying up hair, I'm still in the beginners class, and I have three unfortunate daughters who have suffered at my hands for all of their lives growing up. Nowadays, we look back at the photos, and they're all pretty horrible, nasty plaits, hair coming out everywhere, unmanageable, terrible, and we laugh at it. So my way of coping with my ineptitude is laughter. What do you try and fail at? What do you do if there's something you fail at?
Thank you, Mary. I am, how do you put it? I am a jack of many trades and probably a master of very few, but that's not the question. So what do I fail at? I fail at a lot of things. But remember my icebreaker where I talked about team collaboration, getting people involved? I like to get people involved in things that I'm not good at. For example, I love karaoke. Oh gosh, I love karaoke, but I don't have a good singing voice. And then, of course, I love to choose the really difficult songs. For example, one of my favorites is Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, which goes up really high and becomes, well, it's hard. Only Heart, I think, can do Stairway to Heaven almost as good as Led Zeppelin. But I like that song. And so when we do it in karaoke and I choose the song and the karaoke master or whoever calls the singer and I stand up and everybody's looking and they're probably thinking, oh my gosh, she's going to sing Stairway to Heaven. And so I let people know I love this song, but I can probably not reach the high notes. So I need you all to join in. So I give people permission to join in. And in fact, if I see people sitting around looking like they know the song, they're starting to hum, I say, come, come, come. And usually in most karaoke places, there's more than one microphone. So then we're singing and we're having a lot of fun. And I can go as off key as I want because we're having fun. And so I'm not good at it, but I bring people in and then we're all not good at it, but we're all having fun. Back to you.
Thank you, Michelle. Would it be rude to suggest you do a song at one of our meetings?
Everybody would probably mute,
Join in.
turn off their audios, but hey, why not? It would be rude to the people, not to me.
Brian, have we got time to give you one?
Oh yeah, we do. We even have time. I will even have time after this one to give you one too. So.
Yes, I don't want to hog the limelight.
Yes.
So, Brian, for long, complicated reasons, a colleague and I decided to set each other a challenge. Now, I struggle with sports challenges, and he struggles with music, but he set me a challenge where he gave me a baseball cap with a tennis ball on it, on an elastic, and he taught me how to punch the tennis ball to improve my hand-eye coordination. That's a whole story in itself. Tonight, you've got the opportunity to give anyone you like a challenge. Who will that person be, and what challenge will you set them?
Well, I do have a challenge, yes, and this is a real challenge. One of my in more than one club, in fact, there's two people in here in more than one club with me. But this is one that has only appeared once in the club meeting. You know, I mean, normally you would say, "Oh, yeah, where is she?" Well, I happen to know where she is because a lot of times I'm in a meeting with her someplace else. So my challenge is to Michelle is to come again and give us another speech. We enjoyed your last speech, and maybe you could just squeeze one a month in. That's not too big of a challenge. Just come once a month, because you are our first active international member of Club 38. Now, how many people up in a club that only has 2 digits of it? And there's only 9 of them if we want to go to a 1-digit club. And someday, Michelle and I will work our way into club number 1, which is the Founders Club. So that's my challenge. And I'm glad you gave me that opportunity to do that. Julie had her hand up. Did you want another question, Julie?
I have a question to Mary.
Okay.
What do you think the saying comes from in English? Because of course it makes sense only in English. The sense about the give your best shot. What it really means.
No, I still think it's a medical term. And I do believe it's all about just going in there and giving it all your best. And if you fail, it's really not a disaster. I'm the kind of person who really loves to get stuck into new stuff. I quite often fluff it up several times. I started a new job several years ago, and I was told on my first day, "You're the only person in this job." I was shown into an office, and I had to work out what to do. And it was like some sort of unreal experience. One of my supervisors said, "It'll take you 5 years, and in 5 years, you've really worked it out." It took me about 6 years. I made several mistakes. I offended all the wrong people, filled in all the wrong forms, but I did get there in the end. I gave it my best shot, and I was very proud with what I achieved.
Thank you, Mary. The fascinating thing I always find about table topics, we always learn a little bit about each other that we didn't know before. Because with every story, there's an element of truth in it. So now finally, we will do the evaluation portion of the meeting. And I was Julie's evaluator, so I will start. Julie, I loved your facial expressions. You come back from this holiday, and if you look at your videos before you went on the holiday, and now you're just a beam of light and enthusiasm and enjoyment. So we know you had a good holiday without you even telling us you had. Now, one of the things I find that you could do for improvement, you were bringing your hand up, but your other hand didn't quite make it to this height, so that they were both on the screen. So that gives you something to work about. But I would have loved to see in the 3 different parts of your speech, one picture of each different part of the scenery. And it would have given us that, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So it would have made your pictures longer. Wow. That's exactly what we're talking about. And you, as usual, enthralled me with your stories, and you do everybody on these different adventures. And I look forward to your next adventure, whether it's in the past, in the present, or in the future. Yeah, I had no idea what that looks like part of Canada to me on the prairies. Thank you for sharing.
Brian, am I still timing you? You stopped talking.
No, okay. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Okay.
So our next evaluator of Michelle is Mary.
Well, I'm just going to switch a light on because it's become really dark in here.
Sorry, we can, okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Michelle gave us an icebreaker called Together Everyone Achieves More. And
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm back on. I'd never thought of the word team in that way before. So thank you, Michelle, for introducing that concept. And I really enjoyed the way you said it 4 times during your speech. So you really reinforced it. And that's helped make it stick for me. I really enjoyed the way you told your stories and applied it to how you chose your pathway and how you like to make decisions in life. And what I really enjoy too is the way that, Michelle, just watching your face is you're so absolutely engaging, and there's an enormous smile that didn't go away. And that was really good nice to look at. What I did notice was that you're in a really dark room. So it would have been quite nice if you'd had a light on or something, just so that I could really see you a lot better. But no, thank you for sharing so much. I feel like I know a lot more about you now than I did at the beginning of the meeting, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
And our third evaluator, I think I got the order mixed up, but this doesn't matter. Our third evaluator is Michelle. Michelle and I communicated through the chat, and she took on the role of being Federico's evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brian. Yes, indeed. And Federico, I really enjoyed the fact that you shared stories. Sorry. And well in keeping with Witty Storytellers, you shared 3 stories actually about 3 different prodigies or people that you had mentored, and you were very animated. The stories were very personal, and you, after each story, you shared a quick insight or a lesson learned or something that you gained. So that was a great way of presenting this advanced mentoring speech project. Now, as I was listening, I kept on feeling like, oh no, he's running out of time, he's running out of time. I'm wondering if it might having 3 stories and 3 examples was good, but I was wondering how it would have been like if you had chosen from one of those 3 and then went deeper into that experience you had. Maybe what was the person's level when you started, and you did, for each of those stories you did share a very, very quick, like high level overview. That was wondering about giving a little bit more details on the person's level. And then instead of having 3 different stories about 3 different people, maybe 3 stories, if you wanted, about your experience with this person, about how the person made progress under your mentorship. And then when you would get to the sharing of your own experience as a mentor, then you would also have time to go into a little bit more detail. There's no right or wrong approach with this project, and I like the way you did it. It was just a question in my head about, of those 3 which we heard very quickly. I think you had about a minute and a half to 2 minutes for each of those people that you mentored. How would it have been like if you chose one? And maybe in a future speech you might want to choose one of those and then go a little deeper and a little broader, something like more of a longitudinal approach rather than just you know what do they call that, bullet point kind of approach. But overall, I love your speech, and I love the fact that you did the mentoring project, because a lot of those masters don't dare to do it. They just look at the description and they say, oh no, that's too much for me. But you did it, so kudos to you for doing that. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Michelle. And we forgive you for being in the dark. Your voice is coming across very clearly, and that's the key thing. And it's always a bit of mystery when somebody's in the dark. I mean, there was an age when we went through dark movies, black and white ones yet, and you'd see a pair of eyes or just something. So Julie, my speech was only an introduction, more or less, and I'd like your feedback, because I'm going to develop that into a little video on how to start when you're the Zoom master.
When you are a Zoom master in a mixed club, of course.
Yeah.
You don't have to have all those things you described. Sometimes, as I remember, you did it with an iPhone in hand and going from place to place. I remember the beginnings. So I would suggest, if you want to change something, just tell them that it is best to have a mic and a screen and but if you don't have, you can begin even with that. So that is only for the beginning, of course.
Right. I actually, yeah, because I skipped over that. I did say that in the speech when I introduced when you're the Zoom master.
But it is very good to have pictures, and
Yeah.
I am sure you have also some of those old pictures when we were on the wall. You couldn't even hear us. And tell us some stories or those of your beginning to give them courage. They can do it also.
Yeah, I've actually got a picture of that first meeting when you and Svetlana came to Royal Roads.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Now we have time for the timers report. Although she has been putting times in there.
Okay, I will read the timers report because I was trying to type with one hand and that didn't work. So Julie, to your question about speech times, I was supposed to type 6:37, but somehow I hit the 2 instead of the 6. So the time that I typed in there, that was your speaking time, it's actually 6:37. Federico was 6:41 and Michelle was 6:37. Ooh, Julie, we had the same speaking time, 6:37. Although this could be it's 6:37. It's the same speaking time. For table topics, the first speaker, I have time for 1 minute and 50 and time for 1 minute and 41. So whoever was the first speaker was 1 minute and 50. The second speaker was 1 minute and 41. I was 1 minute and, oh gosh, it's so dark, 1 minute and 59, and Brian was 1 minute and 35. Now for the evaluations, Brian was 1 minute and 46, Mary was 1 minute and 40, Michelle was 2 minutes and 50, and Julie, the short evaluation for your tech tips or Zoom Master was 58 seconds, and my time is 1 minute and 29 seconds. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Our next meeting is in September, and we don't have any guests, so we can't get reaction back from our guests because Terry is our newest member. And welcome to Witty Storytellers. I'm sure we're going to hear many stories from you, and we all believe that a little bit of humor in any story makes a story even more memorable. So what I'm thinking here is if we take some major roles in the next meeting, it sets it up so that it will be easier for the holiday people that have been away can come back in, and they'll have an exciting meeting to join us with and start I always think it, conditioning when you went back to school, right? School year started. This is the beginning of the year. It was in September. I'll give a speech. So I'll give another speech in my IP. Why is my brain not remembering that? So I'll give another speech. I think I have to give 3. Don't I have to give 3, Julie? Oh, you're muted.
I would like to give the speech showing pictures, like yesterday.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you're one speaker. Well, my pen is.
Mary, do you want to give a speech?
Yeah, I'd like that.
Okay. I will leave the slot open in case somebody else wants to give another speech.
Federico, want to be Toastmaster?
I could be the Toastmaster, but I saw that Graham was the Toastmaster, but I assigned myself as the first evaluator.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
My pen ran out of ink.
Yeah, in my case, I already assigned myself in Easy Speak, so.
Oh, I know what to do. Why not use my keyboard? Julie is her second of level 1. That was the IP in
Federico, if you want to speak, I don't mind at all.
No, I'll because it'd be interesting to hear your improved speech now that we've heard it. It's better if it comes sooner than later.
I hope it will be better structured also.
Okay. So Federico, no, Mary's giving a speech, and you can send me the details later.
Can I stop recording?
Oh, yeah. I always forget to do that too, and then I realize